Hi, it's Jenny with Jenny's Wreath Boutique, and in this video I'm going to share with you 4 mistakes that I made last year at my Etsy shop that cost me revenue. I'm not complaining at all. My Etsy shop still did really well. I've made over $500,000 in my shop so far, and that's continuing to grow quickly, and I'm so thankful for the shop. So I wanted to share these mistakes with you so that you can learn from them. As I know better. I know I shouldn't have done these mistakes, but I did them, and I'm going to talk about why and what they are in just a minute. But I'm always looking to improve and do better, and I want to share my ups and downs with you so that you can learn with me. The first mistake I made in my Etsy shop this last year was I didn't focus on making new best-selling items in my shop. Best-selling listings and trending items can stick around in your shop for years and really be powerhouse listings for your shop and bring in a really good steady income year after year. But it's important to not get complacent and make sure you're keeping your photos nice and new and fresh so those listings don't go stale. I didn't do that this year. So some of my really popular listings were starting to get stale and they needed a refresh, and I didn't take the time to do that. My focus was really on my wreath making VIP group and helping them get nice new bestsellers in their shops and teaching them new designs. So I was focused on them, and it was great because so many of my VIP members are doing really well. They got some bestsellers, and that really helped skyrocket their sales. So I'm so proud of them, and I love doing that. That's not a mistake. My focus wasn't on my Etsy shop, it was on my students. And why are these best-selling items so important to have in your shop? I've talked about the 80-20 rule before, and it's the same thing. I'm talking about it again. So about 20% of your listings will be making about 80% of your revenue, your sales, and all that. So it's really important to figure out what those 20% are and do that for every season so that your shop can continue making lots of consistent sales. It's a trial and error process, but it's really important to keep up with that. And when you do list new items that you want to see if they're going to be a bestseller in your shop or do really well, you need to make sure your photos are top notch. And I didn't do that for a lot of my listings because I didn't have the time. So because of that, my listings suffered, and some items that could have sold better didn't do as well. I did turn that ship around for fourth quarter, and I had a couple listings that did super well. I took my time and really focused on getting those great photos that will stand out among the others, and that really paid off, and those listings did super well, and I think they're going to do really well next year. And I've already done the great photos, but I need to be doing that for more listings. So that is the first mistake I made. The second mistake I made in my Etsy shop last year was I didn't keep those bestsellers in stock. Let's backtrack a little bit. To get a listing to rank higher in Etsy, the best thing to do is have it sell, obviously. And when you relist it or have more available, you can sell that same listing over and over again, and that really elevates the listing quality score, and it will rank higher than others, and so you'll get more sales because more eyeballs. And then if you have great pictures, you'll convert more of those eyeballs. It just really all works together, and it really builds this momentum in your shop and in your specific listings, and it's so important to have those. But if you do have those, it's so important to keep them in stock. I tell my VIP members this all the time. If you have a listing that sells well, do your best to keep it in stock. And even if a supply gets discontinued or something, find something similar, retake the photos, and keep that listing going. Don't list something entirely different. You want to keep it the same listing, because if someone favorites it and then it's out of stock and then it goes back in stock and it's a completely different item, they'll get a notification that the item's back in stock, but it could be something completely different. And that goes for your reviews too. They might see reviews under the listing and it could be a completely different item. You don't want that. So to keep it in stock, you want to at least make it similar. The way to become full-time on Etsy and make a really great income is those 20% of your listings. Maybe it's less, maybe it's 10%, but if you have a couple of those for every season, you're going to do great. Some of that was my year-round greenery wreaths. I didn't have that urgency to keep it in stock. I have a couple greenery wreaths that always sell really well, but I let them go out of stock for a long time without restocking, which was a huge mistake because I missed out on so many sales, especially during summer, because My year-round greenery wreaths, they sell well all year round. It's nice to have those items that sell all year round. They aren't dependent on the season, especially during summer because that can be a really slow season. I didn't restock them until it was late. There's a lot of wreath makers on Etsy. Some other wreath makers, they got that top spot because they were making sales and keeping it in stock and keeping their pictures great and updated. I didn't do that, and so my listing didn't rank quite as high. So when I finally did get it back in stock, it took a little bit of time before it finally got that momentum built back up again. Another great thing about keeping those listings in stock that are selling well is that you get faster at making them. A lot of people ask me, Jenny, how do you make wreaths so fast? It's because I've done a lot of these wreaths over and over again. And then I have that system and that process for doing it. So even if it's a new wreath, I know the process. But if I get an order for a wreath I haven't made in a while, it does take me a little bit longer. A great way to streamline your business is make those listings over and over and over again. Those really powerhouse listings in your shop, they can really get you a lot of sales. And part of the reason is I just wasn't scrappy enough. When I started my Etsy shop, I was very scrappy. And when times got busy, if I ran out of something, I knew the importance of keeping those hot listings in stock. If I ran out of something, I was out the door at the store until I found it, looking everywhere, just really, really scrappy. This year, I was more laid back, like, it's out of stock, but it's okay. I've got these other revenue streams. I've got my VIP group. It's not a huge deal. So having those listings that you can make really fast and keep in stock doesn't take up as much time. You're not making new listings, taking new pictures, unless it needs a refresh. Those listings can be such powerhouses for bringing in revenue, and you can make them a lot faster than making one-off items that you take pictures once and you list them and then it's gone. So it's so important. If you are a one-woman show for your Etsy shop, especially, this can be so important. Before I move on to mistake number 3, I want to tell you about my brand new workshop. If you are a wreath maker and you want to start selling your wreaths on Etsy, or maybe you're new on Etsy and you want to stock your shop better, I am offering a brand new Stock Your Shop workshop. I'm going to teach you how to stock your shop for spring without overbuying and being very intentional and focused. If you're watching this later, maybe a different season, I'm hoping to have one of these for every season. So if it's not spring anymore and you want to stock your shop for summer or fall or Christmas, check that link below, and if that's available, you'll be able to see it. I get a lot of questions about how many items should I start with? How can I stock my shop? Florals are so expensive. What should I do? Like, this question comes up to me multiple times a week. So I decided to make a workshop about it because I love this stuff. I teach this to my VIP members, but this is going to be a really focused workshop. It's going to be over a few days and it's going to be great. I'm going to teach you how to stock your shop without breaking the bank and just be really intentional and focused so you don't waste time and you don't waste money. Because I think it's really important when you start to not just start without any focus or direction. So if you are a wreath maker or you want to be a wreath maker and you want to also sell on Etsy, this will also work if you're selling on another platform, but I love Etsy, especially for beginners. I'll have more information on that in the description of this video and in the comments. The third mistake I made in my Etsy shop last year was that I didn't focus on designs for those slower seasons. As I mentioned earlier, I am a one-woman show here and my Etsy shop makes a full-time income, and it's really important to spread out those sales and make it more consistent during those slower seasons so that you're not just dependent on fourth quarter. Because if you're making a full-time income for the whole year, but everything's condensed into the fourth quarter, you are going to be majorly burned out, or you're gonna have to hire somebody to help you, which will take away from your profits. I like to spread it all throughout the year. Of course, my fourth quarter is definitely very, very busy, especially this last year. I almost made up for my slower seasons from the fourth quarter. It did very, very well. I've fixed a lot of these mistakes that I'm talking about by the time I got there, but it still wasn't enough to make up for this mistake I made here. I let some of my popular greenery wreaths go out of stock, and those usually sell well consistently even through the summer. 4th of July wreaths sell really, really well in my shop if I get them out early enough, and if I can make enough that I can sell the same one over and over, like I said before, have it become a bestseller. But this last year, I really didn't do that. I did make some gorgeous 4th of July designs and I taught them to my VIP group, but I didn't sell a lot of those personally because I ran out of stock. The ones I did have, I sold very quickly. And then I kept getting asked about them, like, are you going to list this? Are you going to list this? And I should have done it. I really should have. But I was enjoying my summer, enjoying my slower time. If I could have kept those florals in stock or gotten a little scrappy, made something very similar and reposted pictures on that same listing, I could have done very, very well for a time of year that's normally slow. Compared to previous years, my summer was a lot slower. I like to have a handful of wreaths that sell well every season. In January, I sell a lot of winter and year-round and Valentine's Day wreaths. And earlier in the year, I didn't restock my Valentine's Day heart wreaths, which usually sell over and over and over again. It's got a great profit margin. It's very tedious for me though. It's a tedious wreath to make, but it sells well. I didn't restock it because I didn't want to make it. Because it's just tedious, and that of course cost me a lot of revenue in my shop that I could have made, but that's okay. I also had some Easter wreath designs and some spring wreath designs that did really, really well, and once again, I didn't keep them in stock, so I really didn't spread out my beautiful consistent sales throughout the year, which would have helped my overall revenue for the year. I did have some fall wreaths, could have sold really well, but once again, I didn't keep enough materials in stock. But then I had some take off and I was able to make those wreaths over and over and over again. And that helped a lot in the fourth quarter. But like I said, if you want to make a really good income on Etsy, and not burn yourself out, it's really important to spread those sales out and really focus on those slower seasons or ones that are slow for a lot of people and get some listings out there that do well during those times so that you're still making a good income even during an off season. You don't really need to have an off season. The fourth mistake that I made, and this is a big one, I didn't nurture or grow my email list. I tell my VIP members this all the time, and I have a training inside my VIP group all about email marketing, and it's so important. A lot of people don't think it's important. They only rely on social media, or if they even do that, or they just throw up stuff and think, oh, if I build it, they will come. That's not the case. Email marketing is so important. I offered a discount code in my shop for my wreaths for people to get on my email list. And so obviously they liked me enough because they wanted a wreath for a discount. So they got on my email list, but then I ignored my list. I sent out one email all of last year to my email list of wreath buyers. That's not to say I didn't nurture my email list of wreath makers. That one's thriving. Maybe if you're watching this, you saw it because you got an email from me in your inbox saying, hey, there's a new YouTube video up. This is what it's about. I do nurture and grow my email list of wreath makers, but I haven't done that very well in the last year or two with wreath buyers. I've kind of neglected it. I used to be able to send out an email to my little list because it was pretty small then, and I would get a good amount of sales just from that one. If you've watched any of my other videos on Etsy related topics, and if you're in my VIP group, you know the importance of when you get a new listing up, it's important to really build that momentum quickly so it can rank higher and eventually possibly become a bestseller. Well, one of the ways I recommend doing that is when you have a new listing, send it out to your email list because that is a warm audience. They know who you are, they know what you offer, and they already like you. I mean, hopefully, or they like what you make. Emailing those new listings to your email list is great for getting those initial sales. Also on social media, but algorithms change all the time. And the percentage of people who open your emails is going to be so much higher than the percentage of people who see your posts on social media. And you don't own your social media, or you never know what could happen to your Etsy shop. It could get shut down for whatever reason, hopefully not, but there's mistakes that happen. Things change, but it's nice to have a list of people who are your buyers or potential buyers that have given you their email address because they want to know about sales and discounts in your shop, or they want to know when you have new offerings. That might have been the biggest mistake I did. Having an email list is so great when you offer a sale or a discount, or you just want to move some items. It's a great way. Just email your list. Don't use them. Like, I like to offer value, especially if you're on my email list for if you're a wreath maker. I try to give you valuable content at least once a week so that you have an incentive to open it, and I want to help you. And then my bonus mistake, which isn't necessarily a mistake at all, but it's something that has affected my sales, and that's okay. My audience on social media has shifted from people who buy my wreaths to people who make wreaths. So now when I post a new listing sharing about this new wreath I have for sale, there's more people who want to know, how do I make that? Where do I get the supplies to make that? Teach me. Instead of people saying, ooh, I like that wreath, where can I buy it? That's not a bad thing. I made this choice because I love teaching wreath making. I love teaching how to sell on Etsy. It's a huge passion of mine, and it's a huge part of my business now. So it's not a negative thing. It's just, that's why I didn't count this as a mistake, but it is a factor. If I post a wreath kit, those will sell. If I post wreath bundles, I recently made some bundles to sell of coordinated things, and I posted that in my social media account. They sold out so quickly. I was shocked. I mean, they were a great deal and they were beautiful, so I guess I shouldn't be shocked. If I posted that same listing to an audience that was full of people who weren't interested in making wreaths, but they just wanted to buy my wreaths, I would have gotten crickets. So it's just all really important who you're marketing to. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to know the mistakes I made in my Etsy shop. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share with a friend maybe who also has an Etsy shop. Don't forget about the Stock Your Shop workshop if you're a wreath maker or want to be a wreath maker who sells on Etsy. This will be a great way to get your shop off to a great start. All right, I will see you in the next video. Bye.